I'm amped up for this tango. Now you see where that chain go. Chain gang off that mainframe for my main thing like Django. Bout a nigga like Shango. Old school with that can't go. Right hand on my buckle, bitch. Left hand, hang low. Whip part, but it swang though. Do you know what that 6P do? Just fly up like a fool in the truck and you lanes can't figure how the pain bleed through. Wave on the track like a 6C do. Chip look mean and the drip see through. I'ma get mad on this beat till you niggas running for your van at the feet. Talking to your man when you see him in the street. I ain't no less, had to bless. Play so hard you can feel it in your chest. Make it what it do, now your crew wanna ask what's next. I'ma break it down. Time by the boatload with the fofo till you no show. And I'm puffing on that cocoa till I go slow. If you sleep, motherfucker, take no dose. Better keep it low pro. If you wanna fake how the folk go, catch you on the track, run it down on the whole stretch. Motherfucker, go on top like Flojo. To you fans, greetings, everyone. What is going on, everybody? It is DMVCS in the clinch.
And the clutch.
Once again, in the house, man. It's Lesson. To my right, the man in the place to be, Manny Z. As always, we are here. Happy New Year, ladies and gentlemen.
Happy New Year, fight fans.
We've been away for a little bit. Wanted to check back in with you guys, man. And hope you had, and so far, a healthy and prosperous New Year, and you continue to do so. Of course, man, DMVCS in the clinch. It's our first show of the new year, and it's on the heels of one of the biggest pay-per-views.
Man, was it?
Of the year. And so far, this is the biggest one of the year, and it's going to be hard to top this one.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this, man. Of course, we're going to look back at UFC 182.
Jones versus Cormier. We're also going to look at the fallout from UFC 182 and some of the things that are coming down the pipe in 2015. And then, of course, we're going to recap all MMA news, rumors, event recaps, and all the big news out of mixed martial arts. Now, of course, it was a big UFC 182 event last night, Manny. Lots of people showed up last night. We're going to get into that in a lot more detail. Now, there's going to be a lot of discussion over the next hour about who won, who didn't win. Well, you know who won last night? The house won. You know, when I talk about the house, Vegas won last night.
They won?
They won last night. We're gonna go through some of the numbers of what happened. And I like to read the numbers after these UFC pay-per-views when they say what the live gate was, what the attendance was, what the per ticket issued or per compensation for each ticket that was issued. Yeah. But a lot of people showed up for this event last night. Not only that, but since all those folks showed up in Vegas, the house, meaning the casino, took a lot of bets last night.
And
a lot of people, the point spread. And a lot of people either made some money either at the slots table or at the blackjack table, poker tables, and then definitely at the betting window last night in Las Vegas. So we will get into that. UFC 182, Jones versus Cormier. But first, we have the news, and it's been a lot of news in the last month, boys and girls. So we'll get right back to it. As we start now with the news, first news now, we have a headlining bout, Manny, for UFC 185.
Indeed.
It will include the lightweight champion Anthony Showtime Pettis taking on Rafael Dos Anjos, and that will be at UFC 185, which will take place March 14th in the American Airlines Center in Dallas. That will be March 14th. Now, Anthony Showtime Pettis ranked number 1 in the USA Today lightweight rankings, number 5 pound for pound, and Dos Anjos is ranked number 3rd in the division. Now, Showtime recently earned a second-round submission victory over Gil Melendez.
Ooh, boy, that was deep.
For his 5th straight win and first title defense. The 27-year-old Rufus Sport fighter and former WEC champ submitted the then-champ Benson Henderson to win the title in his prior bout prior to Melendez. He's won 4 consecutive fight night bonuses while also defeating the likes of Donald Cerrone, the last guy I would say even to beat Donald Cerrone, and Joe Lozon. Now, Rafael Dos Anjos, meanwhile, has made a slow but steady climb to top contender stand. This 30-year-old Brazilian has won 3 straight fights since a decision loss to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and he is now 8-1 in his past 9 fights, prior to earning a decision victory over Nate Diaz.
Dominating performance over Nate
Diaz. In his most recent fight, he posted back-to-back knockout wins over Jason High and Benson Henderson. So, 2 guys in the lightweight division that have been making waves over the last few fights. Of course, Showtime on a streak. And now Dos Anjos 8 out of his last 9 fights. And this is the headliner for UFC 185 in the American Airlines Centers in Dallas, Texas. Of course, pay-per-view prelims on Fox Sports 1. But should be a pretty interesting fight with 2 guys that have both been on a roll. And the champ, of course, taking on his latest challenger in Dos Anjos.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, we talked about the UFC attendance, and I wanted to talk about the live gate.
Well, now, we saw on the pay-per-view, they were packed like tune-ins.
If you were watching last night, it was a packed house.
Yes.
And this was in the MGM Grand Garden Arena, the Fenway Park, if you will, of MMA events. in the biggest MMA city in the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, Saturday's UFC 182 event. Now, get this, Manny, attendance of 11,575 for a live gate of $3.7 million. Now, they announced these figures at the post-event news conference, and in the main event, of course, there was. Now, get this. These are the numbers on the comp or free tickets. They weren't revealed, but the figures represent an average revenue of $319.65 per ticket issued. Just to give you a sense of comparison of where that comes from. At UFC 181 last month, which was Hendricks versus Lawler 2, this was almost, I would say, $70 less per ticket issued for revenue. So This was a popular fight, and the tickets were sky high. But this was a fight that was sold out, and everywhere you went in America, if they were showing this fight, it was packed because this is one of the most anticipated fights that people were waiting for through 2014 that made it onto the 2015 calendar. And wow, $319.65 per ticket issued. Like that is very, very high. Most of the time you see when UFC publishes these figures at the post-fight press conference, it's usually somewhere in the neighborhood of about 240, 250. At the highest, 270, but $319 per ticket, basically $320 a ticket. I mean, that's ridiculous. So,
you're talking about potentially one of the biggest grudge matches we had in a good long one.
Yeah, and that's what the hype is. What helps get it there. So, for all the things that happened with the pre-fight brawl between DC and Bones, and all the shit talking that happened between these guys, they sold the fight. And the hype for the fight became big, almost in the fighter itself. Almost bigger than the fight itself. But that's what they're supposed to do, and you're supposed to sell the fight if you're a fighter. So, again, the house won, and we know that Vegas walked away with huge money this weekend. So, those are the numbers on that. Of course, you're watching DMVCS in the clinch. Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter at DMVCS. Also, Facebook, DMVCS Radio. Instagram, DMVCS, the number 2. Now, Hector Lombard last night was victorious in his bout, and this is news from earlier this week. Says that he wants to actually step in and face Matt Brown at the UFC Australia event. That will actually be the UFC Fight Night 60, which will take place on February 14th, Valentine's Day, in Melbourne, Australia. He said that, of course, he needed to get through Josh Berkman, which he did, and then he said he'd be more than happy to come back 6 weeks later to fight Matt Brown. He's ranked currently, Lombard is, by the way, ranked 8th in the latest USA Today welterweight rankings. Now, he was faced Berkman, who was returning to the octagon after a 5-year plus absence of competing in an outside promotion. Now, Lombard openly admitted that it wasn't the fight that he hoped to receive, but UFC President Dana White revealed that it's difficult to find anyone who wanted to step in the cage with the Cuban powerhouse. Lombard said that motivation at times was difficult to maintain, but he was driven by what he could lay beyond this weekend's fight. He said it's a bit difficult when the motivation isn't there, but you have to always think about things after. I'm thinking about what can come after this. Now, what could come next is a crack at Matt Brown. Matt Brown, 19-12 and 12-6 in the UFC.
Mortal.
He was scheduled to face at UFC Fight Night 60 Tarek Safiuddin. He was forced to pull out of the fight earlier this week with an injury. Now, Lombard is hoping to fight in Australia, where he has long called home, in a November stadium show in Australia. He said, I want to be the main event of the Australian event. It's going to be the biggest event of 2015. I want to be there. I'm the most marketable Aussie fighter out there. Why not?
Bigger than Mark Hunt?
Yeah. So,
so I'm like, because I remember distinctly when Hunt had his crack at the Crown that was their guy.
Yeah, but he said they're going to have to wait until Saturday night to make an official challenge. But Dana White pretty much says, I didn't know that. I like that idea. I'm in. So we'll see if Lombard is now going to, it's not yet official, but it looks like it will happen at UFC Fight Night 60, Lombard versus Matt Brown in the oh-so-stacked welterweight division of the UFC.
Man, is it.
So, now, we all talked about the drug testing program, Manny, and we talked all about how,
a lot on the show.
That they were going to implement a year-round drug testing.
You have to.
Well, now the UFC has now done a backpedal and has now scrapped its recently announced plans for an in-house and year-round drug testing program. Now, UFC discussed the cancellation on Thursday while speaking to reporters on the UFC 182 Media Day. Now, they first laid out plans for the program. It was in contact with half or a dozen or so independent testing agencies that could help the UFC provide out-of-competition year-round drug testing for its 500-plus fighters. Now, Dana and UFC chairman and CEO Lorenzo Fertitta previously told this report that was published on MMA Junkie that the cost associated with random testing could curtail its use but the promotion was committed to backing enhanced testing efforts. However, Dana now, instead of overseeing its own program, the organization will give money to state athletic commissions, which are the regulatory bodies in most North American locations and a growing number of international venues. Now, as he said on Thursday, the commissions can then fund and oversee the additional testing, which is a job the UFC isn't suited for. He said what we'll do is we'll help fund it so they can do better drug testing, more drug testing. They can handle it. They're the regulators. Now, this all comes about with the suspension and then retracted suspension of Kung Lee following his loss to Michael Bisping at UFC Fight Night 48 in Macau, where there's no regulatory body and the UFC oversaw its own drug testing. White said he called the situation an eye-opener and admitted that we handled it wrong internally. Although White has said Lee tested 18 times the limit for humans growth hormone, that there were legitimate doubts about the test accuracy and an unclear appeal process. Now, it was only a suspension for 9 months, but then Fertitta later extended it to 12 months, citing a discovered error with the administrative process. They then Kung Lee then fought it, went public with his complaints, and they rescinded the suspension. Then Lee requested his release and recently joined a class action lawsuit that alleges the UFC participated in anti-competitive practices that hindered fighters. Now, White believes that Lee's involvement in the suit is a result of a drug testing situation. He said our legal team completely screwed that thing up. He said we have no business doing drug testing. We fucked it up and we'll fuck it up again. That's what the commission is there to do.
Well, yeah, you fucked it up.
Yeah, but this is now a thing that I guess a lot of the fighters have been talking about when it comes to drug testing. Guys like George St. Pierre, guys like Uriah Faber, other guys who have been out there sort of saying we need this year-round drug testing, and now it's not going to happen. So this is why you see guys are frustrated with this, because the commissions are only going to test when up and leading up to the fight. They're not going to test a guy 3 months out, 4 months out, 5 months out, 6 months out.
So you're saying there's a potentiality within the confines of the company that someone can pull a Vitor?
Of course, absolutely. So we'll see how it will happen and see if there are any other suspensions like Kung Lee's that comes through.
Well, yeah, because he didn't deserve that.
Yeah. Now, Dana White has now said that Dillashaw and Renan Barão will be next on the as far as the title fight at 135. The top bantamweight contenders Dominic Cruz and Rafael Assunção both are sidelined with injuries. Now, he said probably Renan Barão will be next for Dillashaw. He said Renan just fought and won. They would have to, they would have fought before if he had made weight. Now, he was talking to a small group of reporters following the UFC Ultimate Media Day. Dillashaw, of course, beat Renan Barão this past May to claim the Brazilian's belt. And Barão was granted an immediate rematch at 177, but he failed to make weight and was ruled medically ineligible for the contest. Mm-hmm. Joe Soto stepped in on a day's notice and was ultimately suffered with a fifth-round TKO loss. Meanwhile, Barão picked up a submission win over Mitch Gagnon at this past month's UFC Fight Night 58. While it initially didn't seem like it was enough of a high-profile win to earn him a shot at the title, injuries to both Dominic Cruz and Assunção suddenly left Barão in the driver's seat. Of course, there still is one outside possibility that TJ Dillashaw could potentially face his team alpha male teammate, Uriah Faber.
Now, how would that be for a headline?
Exactly. Now, that would be a storyline. Now, a rep for the two recently told MMA Junkie, the teammates, that they weren't likely to fight each other anytime soon. White also insisted that it remains a possibility. He said definitely they're open to it. So when you have a team full of guys and they're all the same way, you're eventually going to have to fight each other, and they're all cool with that. And then, that's his thing. We all knew that Renan was going to get his title rematch, but we know that Uriah Faber has been sitting there. He's been stuck on the prelims from a couple of fight cards.
I don't understand what the hell that's about.
He's a guy that he's lost. The only losses that he's had in the UFC.
Championship fights.
Of championship fights, two to Dominic Cruz, one to Renan Barão, and he's fought the other 8 fights.
We already know that last stoppage with Renan Barão was bullshit because
it was.
Dean saw his thumb was up and then waved it off. So I don't know what the fuck was going on with that one.
Yeah, exactly. Now, and so we'll see what happens with TJ and this. See when this rematch is scheduled with Renan Barão and TJ Dillashaw, and see when Uriah actually gets.
I'm already booking it. I'm picking TJ Dillashaw again with another 5-round stoppage.
Well, we shall see. The first fight was a bit of a shock to some people.
Well, because the guy hadn't lost a fight in almost 9 years.
Exactly.
He shook up the world with that.
Yeah, the guy hadn't lost a fight in quite some time. So we'll keep our eyes on that at your 135 to see how the picture develops in 2015. Now, there are some moves that are being made. The spring schedule is going to get a bit of a different look. We announced earlier that there will be a headlining bout. It will be Anthony Pettis versus Rafael Dos Anjos with 184, which was going to be possibly in Los Angeles and will now take place in Dallas. UFC 185 is now being looked at for Montreal to be the site there for now. Dana said this earlier this week, said that it's possible that the Canadian city is expected to host UFC 186 rather than 185 as previously announced. Now, under the UFC's current intended plans, UFC would take place 185 would have taken place at Dallas, and then also 186 would take place at the Bell Center, but they've switched things around, so it looks like they're going to switch around a couple of the host cities. There are currently no fights other than the headline bout for 185 for either of the cards, so we'll keep our eye on that as that develops as well.
Right.
Now, in the ever-growing world of UFC, and we figure out how guys get title shots, well, of course, we all know about Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor was on the pay-per-view last night. He did an interview with Joe Rogan. Ever the confident guy, he said that he would beat Dennis Seaver and he would knock him out within 2 minutes, or the fight would be over within 2 minutes. Is what he said. And he said, and when Joe Rogan mentioned to him the the possibility of a championship bout against Jose Aldo in Dublin for the title, he of course was open to that. Well, it looks like that may happen if he's successful in his bout against Dennis Seaver for UFC Fight Night the Fight Night in Boston, January 18th. Now, he said the fights in Boston, this is what Dana White says, fights in Boston, if he wins, he's going to fight for the title. Now, White already said that a victory would get, the Irishman a title shot, and today he confirmed that McGregor is a win away from challenging the number one ranked and long-reigning title holder, Jose Aldo. Is a decision that rubs some fellow contenders, including Frankie Edgar, the wrong way. However, it will no doubt do big business. McGregor, a former two-division Cage Warriors champ, is 4-0 since joining the UFC and currently riding an overall 12-fight winning streak. And most recently, the trash-talking showman knocked out Dustin Poirier and Diego Brandao, an impressive back-to-back performance of the night bonuses.
But I'm not sold on him.
Yeah, now Aldo, meanwhile, won a rematch with Chad Mendes, is now riding an 18-fight winning streak. He's 15-0 on the UFC WEC banner. And of course, White was cautious to get excited about a potential Aldo-McGregor matchup. He said everybody assumes he's going to run through Seaver. Now, nobody thought he was going to be Poirier, but now he's just going to walk through Seaver. Don't ever fucking count the chickens until they hatch, believe me, because anything can happen in this sport. So we'll see. So we'll see what happens. Now, Conor McGregor is a guy that can sell a fight because he runs his mouth a lot, and he's very entertaining.
The fuck he does.
And he's very entertaining. So he's had a meteoric rise, which is probably as good as the 2014 as anybody had last year. And he wants a title shot against Jose, and should he get a victory, it looks like that's what's going to happen. So,
yeah, but you're talking about one of the pound-for-pound best fighters on the planet, and you're going to dethrone him? Yeah. Okay, Conor.
Exactly. So, in the welterweight division, we know, of course, last month at UFC 181, Robbie Lawler taking the strap from Johnny Hendricks, and it looks like his next bout will be another rematch. We will get Hendricks and Lawler 3. Now, Dana White confirmed this earlier this week that Johnny Hendricks will get the first shot at Robbie Lawler. He said Robbie and Rory just fought. We just feel like the trilogy makes sense, and to do the third fight with these two. An event and date hasn't been finalized for the rubber match. McDonald, meanwhile, will hope to keep his title hopes alive when he fights another currently undetermined opponent. Now, Lawler's ranked number 1 in the welterweight rankings. Hendricks, meanwhile, is number 2. McDonald is number 3. After former champ George St. Pierre vacated his belt, Lawler and Hendricks fought for the belt in April 2014. Hendricks won the first meeting by unanimous decision. Hendricks recovered from injuries. Lawler defeated Jake Ellenberger and Matt Brown, set up the rematch, which was last month. In a heavily anticipated rematch of their initial fight of the year candidate, Lawler earned split decision for most media outlets, scored the fight for Hendricks. Immediately after the fight, White said a trilogy fight wouldn't be a bad idea and suggested that McDonald's previously promised title shot wasn't a sure thing. Now, this is the thing that sort of gets me, and we've talked about this at length,
numerous
is that,
times.
What is the system for the UFC in giving guys title shots? I mean, we understand. I think everybody wants to see a third Hendricks-Lawler fight.
But still, did just undercut Rory like that?
I mean, yes, Rory did lose to Robbie Lawler last year, or late in 2012. But this guy's been on a tear since then, and he's been waiting patiently for a shot.
Yeah, and
hasn't complained or anything.
He's not been fighting in a bunch of nobodies because it means as stacked as his division is. I'm like, Rory's been on the up and coming.
Exactly. So it looks like Lawler and Hendricks will find probably sometime in 2015. And Roy McDonald now has to fight somebody else and has to prove that he's worthy of a title shot. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't understand how that works either, listen.
Now, veteran middleweight Costa Philippou forced off this month's UFC Fight Night 59 main card with an injury. Sources close. This is a report. The MMA Junkie said that Philippou was forced out of his bout with Uriah Hall due to a rib injury. Now a replacement search is now underway. The headline bout, of course, is Conor McGregor and Dennis Siver. Philippou and Hall were actually slated to meet in a rematch at the event. Philippou won the duel's first meeting by majority decision at the Ring of the Combat 34 in 2011. So 3 years, almost 4 years since they had last met. Now, Philippou's ranked 13 in the middleweight rankings. Snapped a 2-fight skid with a highlight reel knockout of Lorenz Larkin at UFC Fight Night 40. Now, Hall, the Ultimate Fighter's 17 runner-up, recently held a 2-fight skid of his own with back-to-back wins over Chris Lieben and Thiago Santos. So, looks like Uriah Hall is going to be looking for a new opponent for Fight Night, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, and hopefully he doesn't get scratched from the card completely, but we'll see how everything works out with that. So. Now, our last news item of the night, and we actually have a little bit of stuff to go with this. It looks like Phil Brooks, a.k.a. CM Punk, the newest signing for UFC, is going to train at Milwaukee's Rufu Sport for his UFC debut. Yeah. Now, he's going to be training with some high-profile fighters. He'll be venturing to Milwaukee. He's from Chicago, so it's close in the Midwest. He's trained at Rufu Sport with the likes of UFC lightweight champion Anthony Pettis, ONE FC welterweight champion Ben Askren, veteran heavyweights Matt Mitrione, and Ben Rothwell, among others. Now, Dana White talked about this on Fox Sports Live on Tuesday. He picked the training camp. I'm pretty sure he's going to be training with Anthony Pettis, the 155 champion, and his team. Now, we're going to see how he progresses in training, and we'll go from there. Now, Punk, no doubt, brings some interest to the UFC, but is sorely lacking experience and is going to present challenges to UFC matchmakers who are unlikely to book him against an established name. 36-year-old signing has polarized many of MMA's biggest names. Fighters such as light heavyweight champion John Jones and Nate Diaz have blasted the signing, while the likes of Uriah Faber and Donald Cerrone remain optimistic, especially when considering the attention that defendant's favor can bring the sport. Now, John Jones has said, he hopes that CM Punk's get knocked out his first time he goes out there.
Yeah, after trolling him on Twitter saying he's going to headline WrestleMania.
Yeah, and Nate Diaz, as we always know, the Diaz brothers are always very entertaining.
Oh my gosh! We
actually have a video of Nate Diaz during a media scrum earlier this week, and they asked him what he thought about the CM Punk signing, and we're actually going to pull it up. Mike, you can pull it up for us. You just listen to what Nate Diaz said. It's pure 2 minutes of comedy.
It's horrible for the sport, as far as I'm concerned. Great for the sport. They're going to make a lot of money off of it, but I think it's a big old joke. I'm watching TV, I'm watching the fights, and all of a sudden this punk guy's coming on and slick back hair and a little puny virgin nose, and it's like he's gonna big announcement. Punk gets to fight in the UFC. I don't dig it. He is got no fights. I know he's a big draw. I looked him up, and everyone's gonna buy tickets. It's gonna be great for the venue and the UFC, but same time, it downgraded all the fighters, and everybody's acting excited about it. Congratulations, CM Punk. Congratulations, this guy's coming. But it's like, if I want to, I can't go. If I want to, I can't go play in the NBA. And even Stephen Struve's begging, he can't go play in the NBA if he wants to, because he feels like making a change. For a publicity thing, they wouldn't pay him no money, and they wouldn't even let him play. It's ridiculous. We're pros, right? Like, I don't think you should just let some millionaire WWE guy just come on over and play a little game, have fun with his career. I'm over here busting my ass and fighting for 10 years and doing my thing and having a serious job that I have to do for this, and you got this guy's gonna come over and probably get paid more than everyone in the room, and then I don't know if he'll do well. He might do great. He might do, but why does he get a chance? He's an amateur. You're gonna put an amateur in the pros. That makes us all amateurs. So I think it's ridiculous. And so as far as I'm concerned, him, the whole situation, and anybody who takes a fight is tripping. They need to either get paid. Like, by all means, if you're getting paid out, fight that. But everybody in the UFC, I want to be your first fight. I'm like, what are you even talking about? This guy don't get to fight me. You know what I'm saying?
What?
So there you go. 2 minutes of Nate Diaz comedy, ladies and gentlemen. So basically, he said, "Fuck CM Punk, fuck the whole situation." He sounds very upset. But that's Nate Diaz. And
yeah,
that's
when was the last time Nate Diaz won a fight?
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll wait.
Yeah, so the Diaz brothers never shy about expressing their opinion.
We say it all the time on the show. They need their own reality show. Could you imagine them at Starbucks?
Starbucks, exact, dude. That would be just so.
What do you mean you didn't put no cream in my mocha latte, man? It's fucked up. You know you didn't do that.
Yeah, so that's our news for the day, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to break down UFC 182, Jones versus Cormier with DMVCS. Make sure you guys following us on Twitter. We'll be right back.
And we ride. So what we going to do? We going to open the door. Keys in the ignition. And we gon' see on recline while there's money on my mind. Just glide. Hear a dope track, please press rewind. Just glide. Get it in, cause I'm running out of time. Just glide. Future pride and I think I'm going blind. Just glide, glide, glide. For a minute, just glide, glide, glide. Till the finish, just glide, glide, glide. Till you in it, just glide, glide, glide. Sit in politics, how the world goes round. Does it spin? Does it glide? Does it make another sound? Just one hit, two hit, put the L down. There is money to be made, pay it back, James Brown. Yeah, feeling in my soul like today is today, cause tomorrow never promised go away to display. So I grab another fitted up, polo just pressed white, horse chest knitted up, logo just fresh, yes. And the guy just cruising, fooling, stereo on show while these numbers keep moving. Sound up, the music just soothing, oozing, funk in the trunk while the homies stay coolin'. Take us to the main event, now we all here, and it's perfect for the score. Think I'll have another beer. Here. Let's toast with the champagne glass. Game for a day, blow it up the moment, change class. Seat on recline while there's money on my mind. Just glide. Hear a dope track, please press rewind. Just glide. Get it in, cause I'm running out of time. Just glide. Future pride and I think I'm going blind. Just glide, glide, glide. For a minute, just glide, glide, glide. Till the finish, just glide, glide, glide. Till you in it, just glide, glide, glide. Picking up where I left off, beats in the lab, headphones in the jack while I take another drag. I can take it to the West Coast where they ride slabs. I can take it to the dirty South, 808 blast. Take it to the Midwest, hustle getting cash. Up north till it's New York to try to catch a cab. Back in the free state, hoping you can relate. Get into this guap like it's factory and cheesecakes. But please wait, won't you let me take you home to the pretty girls and gangsters? We call it Terradome. Into your sense like you smell a pheromone. No snapback, spit it up, new era. Let me take a minute, just breathe. I can kick it, homie, what you need. 3/4 the chord like Grant in 92. One towns when we touch down, now tell me what it do. See on my climb while there's money on my mind. Just glide. Hear a dope track, please press rewind. Just glide. Get it in, cause I'm running out of time. Just glide. Future pride and I think I'm going blind. Just glide, glide, glide. For a minute, just glide, glide, glide. Till the finish, just glide, glide, glide. Till you in it, just glide, glide, glide. Seat on recline while there's money on my mind. Just glide. Hear a dope track, please press rewind. Just glide. Get it in, cause I'm running out of time. Just glide. Future pride and I think I'm going blind. Just glide, glide, glide. Just glide. Yeah.
Welcome back to DMVCS in the clinch. Of course, you're back here, man. It's lesson with demanding to my right, Manny Z, and a place to be. We are here, man. Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter at DMVCS, Instagram, DMVCS2, Facebook, DMVCS Radio, and Google Plus and YouTube, DMV Combat Systems, where you see all of our shows and past shows so you can see all the good stuff that we have here for you. Now, UFC 182, Manny, last night, one of the bigger UFC pay-per-views that we've seen. We always get a few of these pay-per-views each year where, you know, we saw it UFC 171, 175 last year. You know, we see these pay-per-views, but we've seen a lot of injuries happen last year, and we've seen a lot of bouts got pushed into 2015 because of injuries that happened, an insane amount of injuries, and this is one of them. This, of course, what I'm talking about is the light heavyweight bout between Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier. Now, this is a bout that had a lot of shit talking. This had a lot of hype around it because of the fact that these two guys just simply do not like each other. Now, we all know about the, hey, pussy, are you still there? You know, if I was in that room, I'd come in there and spit in your fucking face. You know, if you do that, I'd absolutely kill you. You know, like not for play, but I would literally.
What, you think I'm gonna sit back and let you kill me, John? Huh?
I mean, these guys at the weigh-ins, there was talk at the
press media
at the press media day.
after
There was
the
talk.
weigh-ins were done.
These guys had to be separated,
Again.
and everything came to a head last night at Las Vegas. It was time for no more talking and time to fight for the strap.
Yeah.
And if you can, Mike, pull up that clip. These guys got back into the card, and we saw what happened last night. Throughout, you saw, of course, a very confident Jon Jones. And then you also saw a very confident Daniel Cormier at the beginning of the fight.
Yes, you did.
We saw a lot of exchanging, especially in the clinch early. And we
very
saw
much
these
so.
guys actually touch gloves last night. We didn't think that would happen.
Yeah, I was quite surprised.
But for
And
the
then DC
first
gets taken
time,
down.
in the first time in his career,
down.
Daniel Cormier was taken down. He was taken down by the champ in the first round. A lot of good exchanges. Cormier actually was able to work that uppercut in the clinch pretty frequently during the first couple of rounds. Jones won the first round. The second round was clearly a Cormier round. But as you saw things come down,
Boom!
you saw exactly what started to happen, that as the fight went on, that Jones was in better shape, and you saw that Cormier was starting to get gassed. The fourth and fifth rounds were completely dominated by Jon Jones. And you see here another takedown. This is in the fourth round, actually, this happening. You could definitely see that Cormier was starting to get a lot more tired. You saw the look on his face. You saw his body language and everything else happening. You saw that, when these championship rounds came around, man, he was not ready for it.
He was not there.
Yeah.
I mean, he was basically on autopilot for like the last 2 rounds because we saw his face when he was in the corner and you had Javier Mendez pouring the water on him. I mean, they had to sit him up.
Yeah.
So he okay, we're trying to get you resuscitated,
Yeah.
bro. You got to win this.
You look at the body language. Whenever you had your head down in a corner, that's never good. That's never good. You're trying to gas for oxygen. And so the champ is still the champ. Unanimous decision, 49-46 across the board. And again, what does this guy do? He takes what you do best and he uses it against you.
Yes, he does.
And that's he neutralizes you. He neutralizes whatever kind of offense it is that you want to do. Now, in the clinch early, DC was able to not get some elbows, a couple of uppercuts, but then Jon was coming back with the same
tie
elbows, same tie elbows,
across,
shoulder jabs, and while he was in the
Old
clinch.
school UFC.
The clinch was key here. Jon Jones had more than a round's worth of clinch control against Daniel Cormier, meaning that he was the one controlling the action in the clinch. He was the one who's the aggressor in the clinch. And that's what I think wore Daniel down in the last 2 rounds. That's what really wore him down in the last 2 rounds. The kicks, being able to reaffirm the distance and everything else. What you saw last night was another masterclass by Jon Jones. He really grinded out this win. When you saw that Cormier came last night wearing the shirt that said King of the Grind,
absolutely not.
well, what Jon Jones did last night was grind out this win over Daniel Cormier, a guy that some people thought was a superior wrestler. And
yeah, but he took 4th in the Olympics, bro.
Right, but some people thought he was a superior wrestler to Jon Jones. But
again, size told the story. It's every
it
Jon
is.
Jones.
It is.
Jon Jones
It is. And we'll just talk about the series of firsts that happened to Daniel Cormier beyond just the loss. He had 100% takedown defense in his MMA career, not just UFC. 100% takedown defense. He got taken down 5 times in his fight. He had never lost a round in his MMA career. I mean, just think about that. He had never been taken down and had never lost a round in his MMA career. Both of those happened last night. Those were done. And then, of course, he was 15-0 in his MMA career, and he's only at 15-1. Afterwards, Jon Jones was not apologetic about anything at all.
Absolutely not.
And you know what? Some people may have called him classless on Twitter last night and other social media.
Oh, yeah, they were panicking.
But you know what? If you talk as much shit as Daniel Cormier, and even this Jon Jones, had the shoe been on the other foot, and the victory would have been DC's and not Jones, you can't really, I mean, if you talk that much shit, you better be able to back it up. And if you don't, you better be prepared to deal with the aftermath.
I mean, I told you before the show, I mean, the post-fight press conference, DC was trying to keep his tears down.
Yeah, exactly.
In his voice, trying, basically give praise to Jon, but you could tell he was humbled, and Jon was just like, "Hey, you came in my head, man. Like, what's really hood?"
He said in the post-fight interview with Joe Rogan, he said, "Man, DC talked a lot of trash, man, and I'm not going back down from any of this. I know I'm being classless right now, but I'm glad he lost, and I hope he cries about it." And
he did,
and that's what happened. So now another notch on the belt of the champ, and he continues to roll through his division with relative ease. I mean, let's just talk about the guys that he's defeated. All right, I'm just going to run down the list of former champions.
Yeah.
All right, of just former champions that he's defeated in his career. All right, he's defeated Lyoto Machida.
former champion.
Quentin Rampage Jackson.
Another former champion.
Mauricio Shogun Hua.
Another former champion.
Sugar Rashad Evans.
Another former champion.
Vitor Belfort.
Another former 2 class weight champion.
And he's defeated the likes of Alexander Gustafsson, Glover Teixeira.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he out-Chael Sonnen, and he also defeated Ryan Bader. And this is a guy who, you look at his career, he's continuously mowed through guys because he neutralizes their offense.
What you're good at, he takes it and neutralizes it.
Yeah, and so that's it. So we figure out what's next for the champ, and we figure it's going to be whoever wins the Gustafsson Rumble fight at the upcoming UFC event in Stockholm. So
and then after that, I've already predicted, like, by the time he's 30, 31, he can call it a career.
you might be able to call it a career before he's 30.
Yeah.
You know?
So who's left?
So the champ is still the champ. Now, in the co-headlining main event, we had Cowboy Donald Cerrone, Donald Cowboy Cerrone against Miles Fury Jury, a guy that we talked about a lot on this show.
Yes, we did.
And there was a little bit of beef with these guys. Coming through with Miles Jury defeating Diego Sanchez last year
as a training partner,
of Cowboy. And Cowboy said, "Look, Dana, give me this fight. I'll fight this boy." And what Cowboy did last night was literally give Miles Jury an ass whooping last night.
Yeah, Thai boxing 101.
Unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. Miles Jury had never been defeated, but Cowboy on a 5-fight winning streak entering this fight. You see here what Cowboy did was circle and then on his back able to log in omoplata right there. And this was pretty much the whole first round. He had Miles Jury on the ground and in control for most of the first round. You see the leg kicks there, which Cowboy got at will heading into this fight. He was able to tag him a couple of times on the feet.
Straight.
And then when you see coming up here at the end of the fight where Miles was clearly defeated, Cowboy lining up for 5 or 6 shots, kicking Miles Jury literally in his thighs and in his ass to end the fight. And I'm talking about they were wind up, as he said in his post-fight press conference, they were fuck you kicks. They were fuck you kicks. That's what they were. And because it's a pay-per-view, you don't see everything here. But I wish we could show the fuck you kicks to end these fights.
I mean,
because
he just kept winding up and doing it.
Cowboy was motivated for this fight, and you could tell that he took pleasure in doing this to this kid who came in a little bit cocky because he had beaten 2 guys who were admittedly past their prime in Diego Sanchez and Takano Orgomi. But Cowboy is coming hot. He's now on a 6-fight winning streak in the lightweight division. Miles Jury is going to be a great MMA fighter one day, but he's going to have to go back to the drawing board because he realizes he has some weaknesses that he has to work on.
Well, mainly is just checking leg kicks. I mean, because that was the story of the entire fight. I mean, you had Cowboy basically just giving him kickboxing 108. I mean, he did not check any of the kicks.
Yeah, no check of the leg kicks. Not very good movement. And Miles Jury is a guy who can move very well in the octagon.
Yeah, he trains with Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, he moves very well in the octagon. And Cowboy put on a clinic in movement in the octagon last night, had control, maintained control, and really gave this kid a lesson last night. Yeah. So Cowboy wanted to make a name for himself in the lightweight division. He wants to move up his 6th straight win. And now Miles Jury has to go back to the drawing board. Now, another one of the bouts on the card last night, of course, we talked about him earlier in the show, Hector Lombard against Josh Berkman. Berkman, who had been out of the UFC for close to 5 years, fighting in other promotions, has now made his return, and he faced Hector Lombard last night. This was in the welterweight division, and it was Lombard last night who looked in control pretty much through most of the fight. You could tell that Berkman was a guy that he wasn't excited about fighting, but what he did was do what he needed to do. Take down here. He did very good. He did very well striking. Really controlled the octagon and, cut off a lot of the octagon for Berkman. Berkman really did not seem motivated. It was a very uninspiring performance by Josh Berkman, who was back in the big time for the first time in 5 years. They did have a couple of exchanges, but that was mostly in the 3rd round. But in the first 2 rounds, Berkman really did not have a sense of urgency, and Lombard just picked. He took his shots. He controlled the octagon, and it was Hector Lombard unanimous decision, 30-27 for 2 judges, 29-28 for another judge, which means they had to give 1 round to Berkman, which I didn't see last night.
I didn't see that either because, Lombard was all over him.
Now, Hector Lombard's a guy who has he is in that stat welterweight division. We talked about that, ranked number 8 right now. He's looking to fight Matt Brown, but he is a guy that is on a 3-fight winning streak. His last loss was to Yushin Okami. That was on UFC on Fuel, Silva versus Stan, March 3rd, 2013. But since then, Mark Clark, Jake Shields, Josh Berkman, not really guys you look at that inspire any type of, as far as great opponents. But he's gotten the job done, and that's what you got to do in the welterweight division. You got to keep winning. If you want
no
a shot,
choice.
you got to keep winning.
No choice.
So, other fights on the card last night, we saw Brad Tavares defeat Nate Marquardt by unanimous decision.
Yeah, that was a humbling experience.
30-27 across the board. Very impressive performance by him last night. We saw UFC newcomer Koji Horiguchi defeat Louis Gaudino last night by unanimous decision. This kid moves very fast.
Yes, the hell he does. It was I felt like I was watching an anime.
Now, when you get flyweights, you see flyweights, you're always watching you're watching it on fast forward because these guys move so fast. He moves great. I mean, he moves almost as good as Demetrius Johnson does. And you know, just looking at him, he was very impressive last night. Both of these guys were karate practitioners, and they were both. He was a 4th degree black belt. And he really utilized his kicks last night and combinations very well. On the undercard, we saw one of the best knockouts last night with Paul Felder defeating Danny Castillo with a spinning back fist, 209 into the second round. Also, we saw Cody Garbrandt defeat Marcus Brimage with a knockout on punches, 4:50 into the third round, 10 seconds left in the fight, and he finished it.
Couldn't hold on.
Yeah. Also, we saw Evan Dunham defeat Rodrigo Dam with a unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. Now, performance bonuses last night. The fight of the night, of course, was the championship bout between John Jones and Daniel Cormier. Performance of the night went to Paul Felder and Sean Jordan. Sean Jordan defeated Jared Cannonier with a KO by punches with 2:57 into the first round. No submissions last night, Manny. So it was interesting. Every fight on the main card went the distance, and they were running out of time for the pay-per-view last night.
Yeah,
that's why the interviews were very short at the end of the fight. Every fight went the distance, went to the judges' scorecards. A rarity did you see that in the MMA pay-per-view card, where you see every fight go the distance.
Yeah, it's very rare you see that, because even like the other promotions like World Series of Fighting and Bellator, you have like at least a knockout or a submission on the card. I mean, it was unreal that every fight damn near went the distance.
Yeah, and again, big money night for the UFC last night. We talked about the Buffalo Wild Wings here in our area.
I mean, shit, I pulled up there, it was packed like fucking tuna.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, fire codes getting, possibly violated, and things getting shut down. This was a big, big fight, and it was exactly what the UFC likes. So, wrapping up UFC 182, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we are going to look at and also wrap up the show by looking at some of the fights of the year last year. We're going to have a discussion about that. So make sure you guys are following us on Twitter, Instagram, and also Facebook and Google Plus/YouTube. We'll be right back.
Oh no. Slasher, yeah. I decided to take for the whole chair. Yo, but I ain't even go first. Yo, get him, dog.
Bruh, I'm a damn soldier. What you say to me is not interesting, so I move you to the spam folder. My clan's bolder, y'all rappers can't flow without your ghostwriter raps. As far as skills, few hands colder. Plan to hit you with the Batman, you understand, Joker? I come to kill these animals. I'm a damn poacher on mics. You never been playing, forever you fame. Forever I'm ahead of the game. I never complain, I never took aim at lames who planes astray. Unless they come directly up in my shit, they get waved. I'm in the barber phase, sit on my throne, you get a fade. Afterwards, I'm sitting while sipping on a glass of lemonade. This is my turf, I mean of course the music scene. By the way, I never gave a damn about your stupid jeans. To hell with the brand name and your champagne. Whack rappers giving MCs like us a bad name.
We on that old school 1-2 shit. We on that true tip hip hop music. Just let your hand nod, hands up, lose it. Top back cruising, fill it with your cruise shit. Where's my volume? Where's my volume? Where's my volume? Pumping out my boom, where's my volume? Where's my volume? Where's my volume? Don't forget my boom. Now this is B-boy sparking, boombox marching, supernova blasting, attack of the Martians. Peace at the tone, now it's lesson with the arching. Bow and arrow marksman, target set marking. Game in the crosshairs, no dropping it down. Mic sign showing the end, cause it's apocalypse now. Thinking you niggas is fixing it, but your lyrics ridiculous. Ripping these flipping pitches, indifferent and inconspicuous. Lesson in passage, you fucking bastards. His name, he's at the passage. Niggas, they couldn't pass it. Faster and faster, like dumping traffic. We attack with lethal flows, you haters just couldn't fathom. Paper or plastic, the game wrapped it. And y'all fools just talking blasted. Rash records is ratchet. Get drastic, then we blast in. Unusual suspects, that's lesson in P, just everlasting. We on that old school 1-2 shit. We on that that true tip hip hop music. Just let your head nod, hands up, lose it. Top back, cruising, feel it with your cruise. Where's my volume? Where's my volume? Where's my volume? Pumping out my boom, where's my volume? Where's my volume? Where's my volume? Don't forget my boom.
I'm the best with talk shitting. Everything that I write is so cool. All of my fingers are frostbitten. Saliva hawk spitting. Cooking heat, this the Dawn's kitchen. Look at me, I'm the top pitcher. I got wisdom. This instrumental got broken simple. My own potential with pencils is not coincidental. I spit the venom. Approach me, I'll give you multis. This shit is costly, dog. But we spit is sultry.
And if you salty, I can make it frosty. Half baked, I can roast you. I sip in a cup of coffee. Carry a big stick and walk softly. Use it to whip fuck niggas with claims that they are falsely. Wow, cause the verses is hurting personally. Nurses are cursing me for flipping on cases mercilessly. This ain't no rhyming for nursery. Let me tell the story, game's over. Laws in the column, the game's closer. We on that old school 1, 2 shit. We on that true tip hip hop music. Just let your head nod, hands up, lose it. Top back, cruising, feel it with your cruise. Where's my volume? Where's my volume? Where's my volume? Pumping out my boom, where's my volume? Where's my volume?
Welcome back to DMVCS in the clinch.
In the clinch.
Yeah, man, we are back here, man, and we wanted to wrap this up, our show, and talk about the fights of the year last year for 2014. It's our first time back since early December. And I pulled a poll from MMA Junkie, which is one of the best MMA sites out there, along with MMA Mania, Bloody Elbow, and, of course, our friend Mike Jahota with Low Kick MMA as well.
Yes. Shout out to all of them.
Yeah, to all of them. Great MMA sites. MMA Junkie does a great job doing day of coverage of UFC events, and then also doing great coverage of the post-fight press conferences, all the rumors and news. And they have as about an educated and very in-tune fight audience out there as any of the blogs out there or websites out there. And they had a poll for Fighter of the Year, and there were a number of fights that were listed on there. And I'll just run down a few of them, especially the ones who were listed as some of the better fights of the year. They included Jose Aldo versus Chad Mendes 2.
Yes.
Matt Brown versus Eric Silva at UFC Fight Night 40.
Yes.
Hendricks Lawler 1 at UFC 171. Weidman versus Machida, UFC 175. Junior Dos Santos, Stipe Miocic at UFC Fox 13. Robbie Lawler versus Matt Brown at UFC on Fox 12. Abel Trujillo versus Jamie Varner at UFC 169. And then also in there is a couple other ones that are in there. Cub Swanson versus Jeremy Stevens at UFC Fight Night 44. Now, this was a poll from MMA Junkie that we pulled, and leading the pack for Fight of the Year, according to the readers at MMA Junkie, was Jose Aldo versus Chad Mendes 2 at UFC 179. I've seen this for a couple of publications or writers that have tagged this as their Fight of the Year for last year at 32.63%. Brown versus Eric Silva, which was an absolute war of 3 rounds at UFC Fight Night 40, 20.58%. Johnny Hendricks versus Robbie Lawler 1 at UFC 171, which we witnessed.
Yeah, that shit.
At 171, 14.46%. Weidman versus Lyoto Machida, which turned out to be a bit of a better fight than I think either one of us thought it would be, especially after
that's
Lyoto.
Because we know you're not a big fan of Lyoto's fighting style.
I'm not, but he, to his credit, late in the third and the fourth round, he actually looked like he wanted to fight.
Well, I mean, he had no choice because you couldn't even run away when Weidman's right there.
Exactly. That was at 9.82%. Junior Dos Santos versus Stipe Miocic, 9.92%. Now, I'm okay with this list somewhat. I love the Aldo Mendes fight because it was sort of back and forth. Both of them threw things at each other the entire night. You saw great exchanges throughout the night.
No fence grabbing.
This is especially a heated fight after the fence gate from the first fight where it ended, where Jose defeated Chad Mendes. But this was a very entertaining fight. Of course, Jose was victorious over Chad Mendes, which leaves the possibility that Mendes and Aldo Mendes 3 could always happen. Matt Brown and Eric Silva that I saw at UFC Fight Night 40, a very good back and forth fight for 3 rounds until the knockout came in the third round by Matt Brown over Eric Silva.
By the Immortal.
Yeah, that was
that shit.
UFC Fight Night 40. That got him to the fight against Robbie Lawler at UFC on Fox 12, which Robbie Lawler won against Matt Brown. Weidman and Machida, again, this is a fight that we saw, and we all expected Chris Weidman to win, and I'm not a big fan of Lyoto and his fighting style. I just think that he stays outside too much and tries to use those kicks, which, of course, he's a karate practitioner, so I understand that.
Yeah, but he's always trying to counter-strike. He
never counter-strikes. He never wants to engage. But the third, fourth, and fifth rounds of that bout were about as good as MMA fighting as you'll ever see. It was good. Now, JDS and Stipe Miocic, when I first heard about this fight, of course, I was not excited about it at all. But it actually turned out to be a pretty decent fight. And you saw both of them were bloodied up by the end of the round. And whenever you got two big heavyweights that are going at each other, damage can be done with hands. They can be done with hands, and big damage was done in this fight.
Yes.
If I would have to rearrange things, and I'd like to get your opinion on it, Manny, I would probably put Hendricks Lawler 1 at the top of this list. I just personally think that when it comes to Aldo Mendez and Hendricks Lawler, I think the two of those are kind of like right here with me. You asked me on one day, I could say one day that's better. Today, I think that was the better fight, and we saw with that 1 and 2 to Hendricks, 3 and 4 to Lawler, and then the fifth round we saw what happened where Hendricks took control of the fight. He took Robbie Lawler down, dominated the fight for a couple of minutes on the ground. Then we had the epic finish at the end of that round where we were hoping that, we think Hendricks got this round. And we both kind of thought that when we saw it that we thought that Hendricks got it. And it was a 1-point unanimous decision on all the judges' scorecards. So that to me was very exciting. The undercard of that fight was also very good.
Yes,
but so leading up, it had a lot of, the crowd was very ready. And this was something where Johnny Hendricks had been cheated out of a victory against George St. Pierre. So this was his shot to be able to get the strap.
Well, that was the robbery upon robberies for that fight. Canada just could not stomach their hero losing to him, even though we already know that he beat the brakes off of him.
Yeah.
High end.
Yeah.
So bad he probably had to go to AutoZone to get a repair.
Yeah.
But I definitely have to agree with that. Just based on the merit of the fact that Johnny went into this fight, he tore his biceps, so he couldn't do any takedowns. And then the first kick of the fight, he breaks his shin and continues for 5 rounds.
That's really the biggest thing. And I think that's, for me, what really, and these were injuries that kept him out for pretty much the rest of 2014 until the rematch.
Yeah.
Until the rematch. He sat on the shelf for more than 6 months, about 7 months, and he stepped back up to defend his crown. Now the second fight to me was not as good. And I think because coming off the injury, we didn't really see the same Johnny Hendricks that I think we could see.
No, he wasn't engaging.
He wasn't engaging, and I think what he did is he actually attributed that in the post-fight press conference of Hendricks Lawler 2, that he said, look, man, I lost this fight, and I know why I lost this fight, because, again, what Robbie Lawler did is in the later rounds, he seized control, especially in round 5. In those last 3 minutes, it was like Johnny Hendricks was hanging on to a thread to keep that title, and he did it. Now, it was a bit of a controversial decision because a lot of the blogs and people who were scoring the fight gave it to Johnny Hendricks, and people were shocked that Robbie won the fight. He won the fight. But again, it was like a different Johnny Hendricks. It wasn't the one that we had seen that was on a tear.
He wasn't engaging or pressing the matter.
Yeah.
It was just like he was standing there trading with them, but it was like he was backpedaling the entire time.
Yeah, and Robbie Lawler took the strap, the first champion of American Top Team. I don't think that fight 2 was up there, but I think 1 was definitely up there.
Definitely.
Aldo Mendez 2. You can't go wrong with either one of those. Those are up there as far as fights of the year. You always get a big debate about that at the end of the year when you start talking about what the fights of the year are. I think if you go with either one of those fights, you can't really go wrong. And there were a lot of injuries. A lot of fights were canceled. A lot of them are going to be taking place this year in 2015. So 2015 shaping up to be a pretty big year.
Well, that was the whole thing about the marketing strategy. The time is now.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
Big fights.
It is. So we got a couple of more minutes here, ladies and gentlemen, for our show. And we just want to let you guys know that you are actually viewing on WLVS the last show of DMVCS in the Clinch. This is our last broadcast here on WLVS, listenvisionlive.com. It's been a great ride this past year. We want to thank everybody from WLVS, the program directors, the account managers, our DJs, our first DJ and engineer, Eric Sherman, of course, the man Mike Phillips, running the boards, man, has been great with us for the last few months, and he's really held things down. Couldn't really ask for a better experience from a day of staff. Everything's been professional, man.
And definitely we have to shout out all the fight fans that love the stuff that we post on Twitter, Instagram.
Absolutely. And we have to thank you for checking out our shows and for giving us a followership and really helping to grow DMVCS into something big. We're not going to be on WLVS WLVS this coming year, and we won't be around. Definitely make sure that you follow us on all of our social media sites, because it doesn't end and stop here. Begin or end here. Everything starts with our social media sites. Of course, Manny is the manager of all of our social media accounts. He does great things on his Facebook account, great things on the Twitter account, engaging the fight community, also engaging the MMA community for everything. You've been getting great feedback from the fight fans out there about what they thought about UFC 182 last night.
Yeah.
And we always get all the greatest, the best news out there for you each year.
And the funny thing about that was, I actually had one of the fight fans from London ask me what time the pay-per-view started and who was my pick right before the pay-per-view started.
Wow. Yeah, and so that's the thing. It's with you guys, and you guys are the ones who make it happen, and we want to thank you for that, man. Of course, thank you again to WLVS for everything that you guys have done. Make sure you are following us on Twitter at DMVCS, Instagram at DMVCS the number two. Also follow us on Google Plus and YouTube. On YouTube, you can see all of our past broadcasts, DMV Combat Systems, and then also you make sure you follow us on Facebook, DMVCS Radio. That's where a lot of it goes down. So we're just about out of time, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a great ride. We thank you for everything. Make sure you're following us on our social media accounts. Be safe. Have a great 2015. We're out of here. DMVCS in the clinch signing off one last time. Until next time. Peace.
Peace.
It's game time. Suit up. This game, your time. Is it now? Insane. This game for the crown. Is it now? Stakes high, put it down. This game, your time, put it down. Let's go. Welcome to the game. Now here's your starting lineup. Brought to you by E-Dub, official with the sign up. Having 40 minutes pressure, Arkansas to Pine Bluff. Little Rocks with